Okay, back into this range. Back to the middle of that range. Beautiful. All right, that's a good spot to hang out for a bit. I mean, just look at that morning run up from early Euro session start. Nice little run up off of the yesterday's bond auction pullback. Just well up this trending channel. Finished off the megaphone. Just stayed down low the whole time. Like I just said, basically morning run up, a little bit of a range at open. Buyers bought the dip, breaking below this range, trapped bears, brought it up through the US Open. And then basically sellers stepped in, and after that, it's just been range rotation after range rotation. They came up to test this top range again, or middle top, and then I took a little bit of a short, and it looks like they're going to try and retest that upper area there. I think the most important part of all of this was watching bookmap orders and seeing the orders down below that are still there. They're still resting right at 305, 15, 305. And, there's a chance that that'll be a magnet for today. If we can get back down there, we're basically going to get back to open, potentially flip red on the day. But let's talk about this in more detail. Let's go. All right, here we go. This is a follow-up from yesterday's action, moving into the overnight session down at the lows here. Asia session had a little bit of a retest at the lows on a lower range. And after that, Euro session opened up. We then climbed, retracing most of the work that the bond sell-off did yesterday. Got back to about right where this important little chop zone is for the most part. Tested that, which is now supply. After that, pre-market open, kind of ranged a little bit there. Market open, we ran up, tested that zone again. We are now coming back down, dancing in between some ranges, and we sit and wait. But more or less is how the action is turning out. One thing I can say for sure is that we have a beautiful channel from early morning to now. We've broken below it, broke to the right of structure, and are now testing that channel as a re-entry to reclaim price. If we can't do that, I would assume we're probably going to stay in these ranges for a little bit and maybe come back down and color these in. If we check out TPO, we can see exactly what we're looking at on that candle chart. So TPO is kind of spread all over the place at this point, but one thing I could say for sure is there are some thin prints from the early morning where we did rip up, and then B session where we retraced, and now C session inside of B session. So value is blatantly clear. It's lower than the last 3 days, however. So something to pay attention to is whether or not on Friday they actually want to bring this down or stay in a range just below the last 4 days. We do still have a couple single prints down here, so we can consider those for more action to the downside. I'm going to go ahead and just leave that right there. Something to watch for as we go through these sessions. Maybe D session or E session will break and fill those in, and we can color in down here. Something to watch. It's always good to pay attention to TPO. TPO is great. It's time, price, opportunity. Shows you sessions in 30-minute increments. Shows you sessions in 30-minute increments, and you can get a great idea for where price and value intersect. Also helps us stay tuned to the market, when we can get in, when we can get out, when we should even plan a trade or when we shouldn't. So I'm going to move over to the 5K tick chart where we are actually re-entering this channel. We are attempting to right now anyways. Something to always consider when watching channels. Uptrends, downtrends, the ranges in between. We want to reclaim that, maybe break through that chop zone up here, but as you see, as soon as we get into that chop zone, which has been very choppy for the last week, it immediately consolidated, exited that range, and now it's consolidating below. All the mechanics outside of this channel. Moving back to the 5K tick chart, we have a little bit to consider with this megaphone that is still valid from yesterday. Continue to watch that, maybe get ourselves a little trend from the lows down here. Pay attention to that. Make sure we aren't doing any funny business, diddling in the middle. So I'm going to put a channel right here now so we can see exactly how we ranged early market all the way through Euro Open, US Open right there in the middle. And now we have touched the top range where we were before the bonds auction, or right below the bonds auction actually. This would be 11.55, and that was when we sold. We then bounced up just above that range and continued to sell for the rest of the day as FOMC Jay Powell spoke. Apparently his quotes were hawkish. He continues to keep at it with keeping rates higher until the job is done, and the target inflation rate is 2%. There's no telling how long that'll take, but as rates are held higher, bonds are going to continue to be a factor, and the market will reflect that. So we're going to have some downward pressure. Interestingly enough, there is speculation out there that there is no supply in the market, or a very heavy lack of. All things to pay attention to as we move through the months, quarters of the year, moving into 2024. If we look at this channel, there's one thing I'd like to point out is that the bottom is touching the lows over the overnight session. It is touching this point down here. However, we haven't made a new high yet since the top of this channel. So I think the best thing for us to do is move it like we have it on TradingView. And from there, we can actually get a much better picture of if we were to reclaim that channel, then perhaps that channel could get wider as I first had it. But it's very important to not overshoot, put the cart in front of the horse when drawing these things and giving yourself a perspective, because that will lead to misjudgment and early entries and being trapped and chopped up. So right now, it does look like we're exiting that range going higher. The most important thing right now is to be patient, because there's a lot of chop in between these two ranges, above and below. There's a lot of wicks over here. After the bond auction, we sold a little bit, and then we bounced back up in between the two ranges and started to wick before we reverted back down. We did it again this morning, almost identical action. We are now retesting that, so we want to pay attention here. We have reclaimed the channel according to TradingView, the TradingView channel. So if we can get above 15,391.25, this channel can be validated, and we can actually adjust it so that we're touching the midline. Look how pretty that works out when you use your channels and give it time. So one thing for sure, we haven't quite done that yet. We'll leave it just like that for now. Moving back over to the 1K tick chart now. We now have that order on bookmap at the bottom where it was 305 is now out of view. That's a stream on YouTube that I watch. I don't actually use bookmap I don't pay for it anyway. So I am at the discretion of the streamers online. Link will be in the description if you want to go and check that out for yourself. But yes, I do use YouTube to watch bookmap for NQ, because NQ is what I trade. It's called Think Bookmap. It's a great channel. They provide a lot of other bookmap live streams for other futures securities. So if you want to watch it, link will be right here, or you can look at it in the description. Go to the channel, check it out. It's a great tool. So now we're testing that high. We can now see exactly how close we are to the range above. Looking at bookmap, I'm not too sure 400 is going to be a rocket or not, but we're going to pay attention here and just bide our time, not make any funny decisions. So it looks like we're shooting up above 191.25 right now. We just tested, we made a new high off of that open rally. I'm going to see if they can enter that range above. Oh, looks like they're well into that range now. Let's see if they can continue this. It's looking a lot better. Just want to put the stop up and let this move as it pleases. We can go over to the 500 tick. Watch this a little more closely. Pay attention to the EMAs as it's running. And we're well into profits. We're just going to let this move. Could probably take one off, scale out a little bit, take some profits. It's moving very nicely. We just took one off, and it's looking great Actually getting close to passing this account. Target's going to be 106, 106K, 6K profit target on this account. We are damn near 105. So I'm just going to keep this up, let this one run, put a stop up here just below the wick of the pullback. There's a potential that we're going to run to this EMA down here, but until then, I'm just going to hold this here until the EMA gets above it. Actually, I kind of want to keep all this, so we're going to let that stay, just like that. That's kind of one way to take the trade. If you take a look back at the 5K tick chart, I did buy at highs, but we were entering a range that had very little volume. We can go look at TradingView, and see exactly how much we ran right through, right over here, basically this range. Just rolled right through that, rolled right through the top of all these wicks down here. It was really a great one that we enjoy trading when we're going through thin volume profile ranges. So now that we're at the top of this channel over here, we can adjust. We do this on a 1 minute, make sure we get every part. We can take that undershoot there and get to the top of this channel here. So if we were to leave this just like that, this would be an overshoot right now. Make sure we get that touch at the top of the channel here, have an overshoot here. Potentially, if we really push this up, we're going to have to adjust this, and eventually that midline is going to start touching the top of that first touch over here in the morning. So we're going to watch that, make sure this isn't an overshoot. If we do continue to move up higher through the lower 400s, above 450, 440, maybe we can adjust this channel some more. But for now, we're just going to keep it as it is. So let's go ahead and look at this megaphone. We are attempting to make yet another touch at the highs of the megaphone. So let's go ahead and adjust this channel now. There we go. That's yesterday's uptrend, followed by the bond sell-off, overnight move up, move sideways, range, continue with trend, testing the top of the megaphone. This is great volatility for a Friday, really smooth move. It's exactly what you want to close out the week with. So there is probably another range that we can put up here. Right there, beautiful. Okay, so now we're touching the top of that midline. EMA on the 5K tick is way down at 372. It would be nice if we got a pullback, move sideways in this channel, continued, let the EMAs catch up a little bit, because this is just a rocket. This is going to need some time to cool off eventually. I want to make sure that we're not taking anything. You don't ever want to buy the highs, and especially when you're on a good green streak, don't give it back. Would you want to give away $1,281? I don't think I would, especially with the progress I've made on this account. I'm just going to try and keep it cool, make sure we're not giving away our profits and paying attention to price action. On the 500 tick, we are finally getting close to maybe touching the EMA. The 1K tick, not quite. And then, of course, 5K tick, not even close. So plenty of time to just let this play out. There will be times in our videos where we do fast forward through certain areas of price action to make sure that we're getting to the valuable points where our price is reacting and showing you something that you can actually learn from. So now we've got some more orders above at 15,445. If we can blast through that, I'm sure we're going to get to the top of this range. Yesterday's high of day, it's a Friday. There's potential that we could just run right through that high of day. So we're just going to keep track of that. We'll move over to the 250 tick. I have this on MNQ, and it's actually been really good for when you get into really choppy ranges that don't look like anything but barcodes on higher tick term charts. Inside, you can actually see what they're doing. And if you have the right EMA, it's actually going to be a good indicator of price touching the EMA, finishing its zone, and coming back up. So I just moved it over from a 21 to a 34 EMA. So anytime that on the 250 tick here, NQ, as it's running up in this range, it touches that EMA, it's a good indicator of it finishing its touch to the low side before it rotates back up. Right now we are well above the EMA, so it would be a dumb time to buy the highs. As we rotate back lower, maybe we can touch this EMA and get a nice indicator for entry. I'm only going to do 4 micros on this just for an example, but if we can get just a little bit lower, we'll get a nice entry there. That was the touch on the EMA. That would have been a great move back up. Really quick scalp there, but ideally we want to touch that EMA, move back up. I had it below because I didn't actually want to get filled, but I did want to show y'all exactly what was going to happen. My order is on a sim account. When you trade with prop firms, you don't trade on real live funded accounts. You trade on sim accounts. So none of those orders are hitting the tape. That's common knowledge. It's not like we're over here faking anything. I'm on an evaluation right now, so all of that is just paper trading. But I am still treating it like it's real money because I do have skin in the game. I paid for the evaluation and I am trading to get funded. We're going to move back over to the 1250 tick. You see the difference, 1250 ticks per candle versus 250 ticks per candle. Really gives you finer detail. We're going to touch this EMA again here. Maybe this time I'll actually show y'all a little bit of an entry. Okay, looks like we've got a fill and it's probably going to rotate back up now. That's basically all there is to it when you're in this sort of market cycle. This is a trend. This is trend action behavior. Trend is your friend until the end. Just manage your trades and you'll be good. Maybe if I get this final order filled, we can start managing the trade. Doesn't look like it's going to happen and it's not worth dancing around. So we're just going to hang out and let this do its thing. Go back over to TradingView for a bit. See how much higher we are now in that channel. So what I'm going to do is start touching that there. And so the midline's not really touching anything right now. If we wanted to give it some space, you're kind of leaving open-ended question there. If you wanted to give it some space and get that midline to touch some of price action, you're leaving a lot open to question. So until price shows you exactly what it's going to do and what's happening, don't move your channels. Don't try to predict the market. You could make this the most bullish bias by just putting the midline at the high of this move. The market would be reacting to that midline there, not being so trendy. It's kind of grinding at this point. And what? So at this point you would try and take a long here and hope that it moves up, or would you stay out? Treat this as an overshoot considering you have previous demand, currently supply, right there where we also had the reaction at high of day yesterday, and just let price do its thing and you're not in a long at highs. Consider that. Make sure you're protecting your capital and your mental capital and not doing foolish trades just because you want to be in the market. I struggle with that. I know a lot of people that struggle with that. It's just the way it is. There's ways around it though. One of these is doing videos, putting things together, talking it out. Every time you talk it out, you reinforce that into your mind a little bit more. Discipline grows. And that's what we want. We want to remain disciplined, in control of our emotions, and not let our emotions control us. Super strong move. This is a good Friday. So bookmap's getting a little tight here. Let's check out data, see if there's anything else going on today. We had member Logan speak at 7:30, probably gave some dovish views. I did not check out what he said. I didn't really pay attention to that. I figured that's more or less noise to me. If the market wants to move, it's going to move. But at 10 o'clock, we did have preliminary University of Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation expectations, which did report, I guess it was above for inflation expectations. So they're expecting inflation to go higher, and consumer sentiment is dropping. Market's just reacting to that based on yesterday's bond auction sell-off. But anyways, that's what's going on for our Friday, November 10th. I hope you've enjoyed this so far. There's going to be more. And I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon on all the prop firms that we use and promotional content. And maybe if you want to start joining futures, you can use the links and codes below in those descriptions of those videos. But for now, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate your time watching. Subscribe to this channel for more content. You will not be disappointed. This is BullishBear, 23 Capital Trades. Peace out.